Welcome to Maranatha Church's video and audio ministry tutorial videos. I'm Randall, if you don't know me already, and I definitely wanted to equip you with all the tools necessary to having a smooth flowing service, and also so you know how to utilize the equipment to its best efficiency. Also, there's more than one way of doing things, so please keep in mind we want to keep things consistent in this format and consistent in the way we do things, so that it'll be easier for people who are coming in and people transitioning in to doing these different roles. Like I said, this is a ministry, so always be willing and flowing with the service, because there might be different directions where the service may go. So it's important to always be attentive to what's going on, and also always be ready and prepared with different equipment so you can efficiently and effectively load these things on our computer systems. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm merging audio and visual training because oftentimes they work in tandem together, especially if there's something that needs to be displayed with audio or different things of that nature. So oftentimes when you get into the church, more than likely this is going to be the situation where there's no lights on, none of the boards are on, and everything is pretty much set in place. So one thing to keep in mind is the lights for the pulpit are here. So if you turn those on, it turns on those 4 lights there. There are LED lights that are up in the pulpit, so if you wanted to also have those lights turned on, there's a power strip near this keyboard over here in the bass amp. You turn that on, and that will turn on that light. And then there's another power strip back there that you can use to operate the other lights. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to turn that off right now because we don't necessarily need it. Now, the most important switch here is the switch that is in the back of the soundboard. So we always usually put this white sheet over our sound equipment so we don't have dust and things getting into the faders. So yep, here's a good look at it. So let me go over just a little bit of a breakdown of what's here as of now. So usually in the first channel, we have our wireless mic, the wireless handheld mic. So that's over there. That's usually sitting in the podium. There is nothing currently in faders 2 or 3 as of now, but you can always tell what's plugged up in there by looking at the configuration. If there's nothing plugged in there, then those faders are not used. Okay, so in faders 4, 5, and 6, we have our corded handheld mics. So these 3 mics that we usually roll up and put behind the do a remembrance table. So that's where you can control those volumes. Then in fader 7, we have the piano. So that's the main piano there. One thing to keep in mind is before you turn this whole system on, especially if it's like a service day or a Sunday, turn this piano on first before you turn things on, so it doesn't have like a popping noise when you turn it on, because that could kind of throw things off. But it's just a matter of preference as well. Then in channel 10 is the keyboard that is sitting in the pulpit. So that's right over there. And then the last 2 channels, which are the really important channels, is our auxiliary cable. So we just have our normal 3.5 millimeter jack for that. And that's where we play a lot of things through the air. So 11 and 12, these are panning. So one is left side, one is right side. So these are important that both these faders are on and those feeders are on. Also, some important things is monitor A. Monitor A is the monitor that is up here next to the drums. So usually the drummer can use that. Monitor B is very important for our purposes because this is the monitor that helps us record the sermons, and that is plugged in from here. So you have this long dongle piece that's plugged into monitor B, and then that's plugged all the way into our computer system, which is, we have a Mac Mini. So we have this is our core processing unit. And then, of course, we have our master volumes that are here. So left and right. I'm not sure how it's oriented as of now, but they control each of these speakers. So the one that's mounted up there, the one that's over here. There might be a day that we might mount the speaker back up there on that peg. But yeah, those are the faders for that. Of course, there's other little things that you can potentially use, but this is the current configuration that we have as of now. So you need to have this power strip back here to be on in order for you to utilize our screen. So our screen is remote controlled, if you can see that. So the remote for this is located over here. So that's the general breakdown of our system as of now. So far, we turned on the lights, we turned on that power strip. So when you turn on that power strip, what you are turning on is your ability to use the screen, the ability for you to use these different power strips. It also turns this speaker on. For the other speaker, it's not attached to any of those power strips, so you do have to connect it. So as you can see, the cable that's hanging down, you can plug it in. It's important that we have a ground plug that's attached to this, or there's going to be an insanely loud hum that's produced in our system. So we can just plug it in right there. And then that's how you turn on the rest of the sound system. Okay, so now we're getting to our next steps. So here we are, we have a standard keyboard and mouse. We have our Mac, and we also have our monitor. So kind of breaking it down, and also side note, we have our batteries here. So these batteries are for the handheld wireless mics. So whenever the mic is going out during service, you can always hand the batteries over to the person who's operating that mic. So a little bonus material right there. Okay, so when we look at the back of this panel, just to kind of give some background, is we have our, I'm trying to see if I can get a better view of everything. We'll see what we can do. Okay, so we have our power button that's right in this back. We also have our power cable. We have HDMI. So we have HDMI that we are transmitting from here all the way to the projector. So that's what the HDMI is for. So that HDMI is coming from here, coming through, coming around, and then it ends up at the projector. So that cable is very important. So make sure that's inserted properly. We also have this lightning display port, which we have an adapter from lightning to VGA. And this VGA is going to the monitor. Next, we have pretty much a series of different USBs. So this first USB here, this is for the recording the sermon. So this is like the dongle that I was talking about earlier that's over there. Now that comes directly via USB connection, and then here's the dongle here. So we will start getting into more about that later, but it's important to know where things are. This next USB should be for the keyboard. So we have a USB that goes straight to the keyboard, and then from the keyboard it goes to our mouse. So our mouse is directly connected to our keyboard. And then besides that, we have about 2 extra USB ports that will help us out later. And then also we have an extension aux cable. So we have a port back here. It's kind of hard to see. But we have a headphone jack. You can probably start seeing it. But yeah, there's a headphone jack in the back. I believe there's also a SD card port in the back, which is kind of interesting. But yes, there is a headphone jack extension in the back. So whenever you need to play audio, doing service, make sure that this is plugged in. And then that cable is pretty much looping all the way from the back and then into our system. So here's the female port of the audio jack, and this is our male piece. So make sure that these two are connected when you're trying to play audio through the computer. Otherwise, then you're just going to have video and no sound. Cool. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty of why we are here. So let me turn on our computer. So when you press the back, you have the light that comes on. So that's our indication light that that the tower is on. Also, pay attention to our lights, because sometimes our monitor could be off, and it could be like in like a red position or different things of that nature. The power button is right underneath. So right now it's off. I can press it and it turns on. So I'll give that a little bit of time to load. I usually like to turn the computer on first, so that when we lower the screen, we don't lower the screen too low or too high, because we want to make sure that the picture is pretty much covered all in the screen. All right, we're getting there. Patience is also key when using the system. All right, so after being patient, it is now up. So now we can always log into our system. So we use Pastor Candy's login. I will tell you the password, so it won't be just on the YouTube video. I might put it in the comment section or in the description if needed. So here we are. This is pretty much our desktop page now. So usually at this point it's pretty much cool to drop the screen down. But of course, for good measure, the most ideal screen to be on is on the Propresenter screen. So Propresenter is our main application that we use to do everything in service. So if you just click Propresenter once, so for my Windows people, you don't have to double click all the time. And so then we usually give that some time to load and everything, and then we can kind of go forward and talk more about that. All right, so after more patience, now we have Propresenter up. So to kind of give a little breakdown of what's here. So this corner screen is pretty important to me. That's why I usually like to have it larger. But whatever is on this screen is going to be displayed on that screen. So usually the go-to screen that we usually have is our church logo. So now that we have some things set up and everything, now let's kind of go through the progression. So here we have our projector remote for the Epson projector. One thing that's important is you may have to walk close to the front of the projector. So pretty much where I'm standing, you might have to stand in this position and aim it directly at the projector, and then you might hear a beep. So once you hear the beep, you're all good. So if you don't see like a projection right away, you're not doing anything wrong. It's taking some time to warm up. Then we also have our remote. So the sensor is right on the end of this. So you have to also aim this piece right at it. So when you press the down button, it starts coming down. When you want to pause it, press the middle. When you want to go up, press up, and it'll just keep going until it'll stop. So let's bring it down. And this is kind of the more important thing is, as you can see, whatever I had displayed on my Propresenter screen, so you see the church logo, is also displayed here. So one thing is important is make sure that the image is not cut off. So we don't want to stop the projector screen here because then you're getting rid of all your letters. So once it starts, once you see like the black piece of the screen starting to come down, usually we stop it about right there. And then the whole image is fitted in the screen. So that's our ideal position that we want to put it in. So that's important. Okay. So now that we have our screen down, we got everything, we're pretty much almost ready to go. So the rest of the stuff that we're going to be talking about are pretty much Propresenter techniques and other things that we do during service. So that'll be in our next tutorial video. So let's go from there.